Good morning.
Good morning.
So today on the menu we have like a first kind of show and tell. You and I were kind of working on different things, different screens within a new project. The project is about sort of redesigning the goals. Um, for a bit of context, I'll try to give a quick intro, like what do we why do we what do we want to do? So let me share screen. Um, so this is like inappropriately on the top level navigation. We have this under the goals menu. We have what we're currently calling a goal map, which is a hierarchy of all goals and projects in the company. And we've kind of run into some kind of limitations of the screen. So one is there's maybe a somewhat, let's say, trivial in the sense like at one point we recently introduced this time frame selection, which is pretty cool. However, like we started basically accumulating buttons for filtering for the filtering views. So that's like one side quest on this screen. The kind of a consequence, there's consequences of consequences that we're dealing with. So a consequence of, for example, being able to view this screen in what we're calling default or compact view. And you can go away and you can come back and it kind of saves it for you. That's good behavior, but that also means that you actually have no idea if other people in your team are looking at the same things. Like you could tell them, like, go to the goal map. And they're like, yeah, And for example, they're looking at this compact view all the time because like a month ago they selected that and they forgot that the other view exists and you're viewing this other view, which has a whole lot more information. And so on. Another thing is this is a demo organization with a still a fairly small, I would say, number of golden projects. In a team of 20 to 30 people, you would have like probably at least twice as many. And we just realized that this custom UI widget where you kind of pack somewhat arbitrary combination of data in multiple lines is just hard to consume. Of course, if you personally like zoom in on a single one, yes, it kind of makes sense. But the primary sort of purpose when you're zooming out on the company level or space level is to sort of maybe do like some higher level thinking. So maybe you're trying to recalibrate, or maybe you're trying to spot some misalignment. Maybe you are just want to kind of double check if what you're working on right now, what you've been working on the last few weeks, is really, in the best use of time, giving the bigger company goals and strategy. And that's really hard. Like when there's so much text and information here. So one of the goals of this project is that we, sort of reimagine this screen in a different way. The main lead is some kind of a table-based view, and yeah, I've been working on that. I'll show what I have so far. So that's that. Related to this, the project screen, which defaults to, my projects. There are also options to you, what you're responsible for as a reviewer, also everything. This is this screen is overall good, but it is, let's say, we're interested in whether this can actually be just a different case of what we were looking at before. It'll be more clear maybe when we show an example. To go back to goals, this is the goal page, and basically we're not happy with the fact that information is scattered across tabs. We basically want to explore UI ideas that are based on like a single page concept, and on top of that we want to introduce basically checklists within goals. So we want to break free of this constraint that literally everything has to be quantified. Yes, of course, a good goal is always something you can measure and you can tell how far you've gone. But in reality, a lot of times, especially when you're just breaking new ground, accomplishing new things, a lot of times it's the goal is simply to accomplish something, to go from 0 to 1. And for those purposes, we don't want to be like, we don't want to frustrate our users. We want to make it possible that if you need like a simple checklist and that's part of your goal, like go for it. Yeah, I'll pause here. Igor, is there anything you might want to add for context, or we can jump in?
I think that's it. When we go in, I think we will uncover more details.
Okay. So do you want to start with the work map or the goal page?
Let's start with the work map. The goal page is, I shared various designs, but to be honest, I still have lots of things open and unanswered. So I'm hoping that on your side it's different and we have a deeper conversation.
Well, probably not, but I think there are some questions we can address today that can really sort of maybe propel us to the next stage very quickly. So mainly I was exploring, let's just go over this just to make sure we haven't forgot about something. Okay, we have a growing number of filtering options. We talked about this. Yeah, this is maybe a more straightforward way of saying, like, we don't want to, one of the kind of constraints in this project is like, we don't want to invent a whole new kind of UI, pieces of UI, basically. I don't think that's really necessary. I think we can, especially on the, like, this is in the context of work map.
Here we kind of implicitly agreed that the tables are the way to go.
Yeah. We mentioned this. And there is this kind of nuance, maybe. So when you browse and you want to see maybe like you get interested in one particular goal or project, and you want to just kind of peek to see, okay, what was that last check-in? What did it say? When exactly was the date when it was posted, or when it was due, or something? And yeah, this is a use case that we should not forget, at least.
I don't know if I would frame it like that, but definitely the problem I had is I see something on the goal map, and okay, just give me a peek of the page, the whole page.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't want to navigate away. I just want to, see what's going on.
Okay, so I was mainly exploring this. Okay, what would a table look like? Maybe I'll just give you a few seconds and then I can make a few comments.
Actually, I really like it. I like UI that when you show me it's instantly clear what's going on.
Mm.
I was also prepared to this meeting. Like, if it's not instantly clear, I would say no.
Mm.
But this page is maybe this next step. That's I have questions about that, but the rest is completely clear.
Yeah, yeah. So we want to show, a hierarchy is our, it's very important to understand. So we've tried different things in the past. I think for legibility, like having a very lightweight separators on the table is really helpful. Of course, this is still a mock-up. We can go finer and nicer in the app. But a simple consequence of like horizontal separators is that we cannot have any special graphical indicators of dependency, like between parent and children, which we kind of tried to have in the past, like a vertical line or something. And I think it's fine. Just give it enough indentation, and it's like, I think, obviously, very clear.
I think that at some point we even had a similar design to this.
Yeah.
And the visual hierarchy and the paddings and everything, I think I was fine with it. Even if we just reintroduce that.
We did have and I think this is part of that kind of where we kind of detected that we're going in circles, and okay, maybe to some extent it was necessary, but yeah, I remember one of the things that made us go towards that multi-line tile design was like there was like a progress bar, and you could click on the progress bar and it would show a tool, like pop-up tooltip with check-in.
We need to avoid any interface that, sorry for jumping in, but any interface that like requires special knowledge where to click,
yeah,
that's wrong.
Yeah, that's become very clear to me in this as I was working on this as well. What can be clickable, like this can obviously be clickable, and this is the only thing that should provide you more information about this goal. Like potentially, maybe if you click on the space name, you could go to the space or you could go to the person, but like nothing about this, whatever is the current initiative, whether it's a goal or project, like you should click on this. Like there's no special Easter egg to discover.
I mean, I might not be against tooltips. When you hover over the progress, it says like some information extra, but it shouldn't be crucial information. It should be, if you are really investigating, yeah, you can get something, but not like the whole target list that was previously there. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, maybe just to go over some detail, like some micro ideas here. Okay, so the progress bar is in the color of the status. I was kind of overall, I like, not that I don't mind. I think it's fine to have somewhat dense information on the kind of right hand side. Um, Here, what I have is like, okay, if text is a certain length, then use a smaller font. We can try it. I don't know. Mm. Deadline is something different from what we currently have. We currently have a time frame, and I was thinking like showing the full time frame is a bit like too much information potentially, and I was just like, okay, let's have like a super condensed view on just like the end date of that time frame, and like to go back to the current design. um you have a goal, and then you have like okay, here all goals are, let's change this goal just for illustration. Let's set it to something custom. And now it's like January, like we print the whole, we don't even abbreviate the month name. So there's definitely space to cut that. Let's go back to the markup.
If I can comment on this deadline,
mhm.
I was struggling with this like several times while I was designing, because if it's the exact last date of the Q1, then you would show Q1 2025. Otherwise, you would show a specific date.
Yes.
Then I explored various other products as well, and some products that just default to showing a short date like December 12th or December 31. And I was trying to come up with a very valid reason why it needs to be like 2025 instead of something else. But actually, I didn't come up with anything. Like I get it. For example, here where it says 2025 on the middle of the page.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not the deadline. That's a vague definition of what the deadline is.
Yeah, it's more like this is the deadline. Like if we are talking in human terms.
Yeah.
Or here it's not, it's end of Q1. This is what you mean.
Yes.
This is what we mean when we present Q1. I'm sorry.
But my argument is also, can we just make it simpler and say the exact time?
Yeah.
To some degree, I would definitely even like to have a toggle that says, okay, just simplify it for me. I don't want time formats in different, units. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I would like to try that experiment where we just say, okay, a date is a date.
Yeah.
End of the story.
Oh, I like this. Especially it on several levels. It makes sense. It also makes sense because this is like a interpretation of the time frame, and so it gives you, okay, then be specific. Tell me exactly on what date, on what day. Okay, we can go with that. And so on. So this next step is, yeah, it's a new invention. Basically, it would be like, let's say these are like short text columns where we would need to have some limits, and this would be like strict limits for brevity, and this is like a notes type where the text is smaller, and the next step is either the next milestone in case of a project, or it's whatever is the first in not yet completed target, measure, or check item in a goal. Um, it kind of ties back to, like, in case of goals, in case of projects, it's obvious. In case of goals, I guess we're giving people a reason to thoughtfully order things. I don't know, doesn't seem like a bad idea to me.
I mean, I like it. I definitely like to have like what is the next step that you're focusing on. Like that's completely valid. When it comes to ordering, a side note for us, if we have this, then we need to give more control over ordering of those targets in the goals that I think we currently don't have in any place.
Correct, yeah. It also it's a feedback loop for us, yeah. We don't have currently, if you added a goal and you want to change order of the targets, you would have to delete and start over or something. So there's
Note on this next step. I mean, visually, I will now overcomplicate this table for no specific reason, just because I saw it in some product. I think Linear has it for tasks or something like that. And that is they merged long form text into the first column, and then it works like this. You say like release 0.4, then there is a like a delimiter, so some kind, and this is in small font like continuation. And for certain situations, it works very well because it condenses the table quite a lot, because usually you have quite a lot of space here. And the extra problem is that it's not immediately clear what that continuation is.
Okay, I mean, I think it's, yeah, we can play with that sooner or later. I mean, I was playing here with kind of just to get the feeling of what different variations would look like. So, for example, this is just the goals, no projects. This is just projects on a flat list. So, for example, this would replace the special kind of layout for projects that we have. I think it works perfectly fine.
This is perfect. I think it's even better than what we had there.
Yeah.
Personally, I like tables, so it's always a pleasure to see them.
Yeah. This is projects only. It's almost like, because it just omits a few goals. So this is projects in a hierarchy. I would not make this, I don't know, just for reference, because currently this is how we this is, let's say, if you were on this screen where you see all work in the company, if you had the filtering option to say, show me just projects, and let's say there is a additional option, which we currently don't have, but we might need to introduce, which is like just a flip between hierarchy and flat. Uh, so you would see this if you keep the hierarchy, but say only the goals. So you have to see the parents.
What was this last one? Hierarchy but flat. What?
No, hierarchy, but only projects. I mean, only.
My mind is not computing that.
Projects in. Yeah. It doesn't show goals that don't have projects. It shows you potentially.
I see. I see.
It shows you projects and the goals that they belong to.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, this is goals and projects separately, 2 flat lists.
This is actually very nice. In a marketing or in a specific smaller space,
Yeah,
this is very nice.
I remember that we were talking about this being most probably very useful in a space, and I would say definitely makes sense. I think it makes sense if there was like a global my work page. I think this I would also start with this layout being the default. And yeah, here we don't. For demonstration I removed the space column, so this is with one less column how it might look.
Sorry, my mind went on a tangent there.
Yeah.
Just a random idea. No, not really thought through. Could the review page and this page be merged when we say like my work? I'm like, I'm going to my work. If there is a pending check-in, special color, special something, or review, then I don't need to think about two things. It would be like, it's a shortcut for me to get to all of my work and also to review all of my work. That's just, I don't even need an answer. I'm just putting out that as an idea.
I think the concept of like getting to, like the notion of getting to inbox 0 is important for the review kind of routine.
Yeah, I get that.
So I didn't go far when it comes to thinking through like, okay, this variation would go exactly under this navigation and so on. So actually, some days ago I created this quick mock-up where, like, I don't know, we need to think this through. We can maybe throw some ideas today, or we can just continue async. What is this? Anyone can create a custom view on a company or space level, and if you have the right access level, you can publish it for others. Maybe.
The question there is, who also can edit it? Like all other space managers can edit it or not? That is the...
Yeah, so I mean, I would expect yes. Like if you share it with others, then it's like common. If you need something which is just under your strict control, just create it for yourself. I mean,
Yep.
and this is basically just an inventory list. So currently we have in top navigation we have goals, which is like basically would map to this, like all work in a hierarchy. But we also have a global projects link, which shows a list of my projects by default. List of my work, my projects, not all work.
Maybe a simplification here. Why can't I have access to my work?
I'm just sort of enumerating what
Okay.
is the current status. On the space level, we default again to a hierarchy of all work, all goals and projects where that space has some input. On the personal profile, actually I should check. So if you click on this little guy, the tab says goals, but it's kind of like the full hierarchy of anything he's champion of, probably. Maybe. Yeah.
This is a place where I would maybe like to see a list instead of a tree by default.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah. Where I'm currently sort of gravitating towards for navigation is like, let's go back to the app once more. I should have just shared the whole browser instead of tabs. Anyway, review is a personal page. Project is a personal. I mean, it doesn't have to, but it's like 3-1, 2-1 in favor of personal stuff. And if it's not personal, then why it's there? So, it's kind of one argument could be the goals link is or maybe I would refrain from like super specific because I don't have a complete thought. But basically, in the top navigation, we need access to my work, right? That's one thing, and it seems like we will probably have. I need to switch once again. Where like this table view being like the ultimate view of stuff is kind of leading towards is like there's all work, and then there are derivatives of this screen which can be considered special and not editable by you as a user. Like if you create a different view, you can save it and you can give it a name. But let's say there's all work, there is all goals, and there is all projects, which can be just like this as a flat list. And everybody needs access to these like um, on the whole company level and also on the personal level. So we just need to figure out how to basically to some extent redesign the top navigation for this.
At the moment, I'm leaning more toward like distinguishing all work and my work, and not like goals projects and similar, because I'm anticipating the arrival of, like, let's say, procedures, and I want procedures to be under my work. Like, I don't want another tab for that.
In abstract terms, like these are two different ways of separating stuff. Which one is more closer to which one is more human? I think ownership is more human.
And it's more general. Like,
Yeah.
our distinction is like our special way of thinking in Operately.
Yeah.
But like my work, that's universal.
Whatever we introduce over time, it will be added there, as opposed to potentially having 6 items for 6 types of activities 1 year from now.
A potential rabbit hole in my work. I'm just extending my line of thought. Like, I would expect there to see my upcoming tasks as well. So it might not be just this. But so far, it's a good start to be goals and projects.
Yeah. Great. I think it makes perfect sense.
Overall, I like it. It's a simplification. We have tables. It's easy to read. Now, what we didn't solve, just to point out, maybe you have it in the list, how to deal with closed stuff and completed stuff. What is visible, what is not. I'm not sure if there is anything else.
Well, I think not. I will make a few more maybe drawings, and then maybe designing the flow of creating a custom view and saving it, and what exactly are all the options and how they will look like. That's pending. But it's maybe, yeah, it feels a bit more straightforward than this. We'll see.
And I would add one more thing that is related to that last comment that you made about, like, I just want to explore specific things about a goal or a project. I would really like for us to have a solution to click on something and not leave the page.
Right.
This is where, like, the Notion solution comes to my mind. That you can see the exact same page in both a pop-up form, but you can also, like, zoom it out to get a new page for that. The good thing about that is that when you get it in the pop-up state, it's very easy to close and you are in the same page, same state. You are still thinking about the goal hierarchy. And you are not presented with a special view just for the goal page. Like, you actually see the goal page, the project page, in full glory. And then if you want to, share it or view it in a full screen or something, you get that option.
I'm pretty sure we will go with that. Well, I was looking at yesterday. I could not find that flow in Notion. I mean, I have account. I don't have many pages. I do have like one sub page, and I was like, surely that's gonna happen, but it didn't. It just opened in a normal way. So, do you maybe have something at hand, or
No, but
uh,
I think
well,
that there
well,
are lots of like Notion, open Notion pages or something,
yeah.
various templates.
Just opened one just to see. Okay, here's one. Information technology issue tracker. So this is no?
Yeah, this is that flow. Like you have opened a pop-up, you can full screen it, and you can exit.
Mhm. So if I go back in the browser, this is interesting. I go forward, I go back, I preserve this.
I think you're not showing what you're doing. I just see the issue tracker.
Really? Let's share the whole window. You see now?
Yeah, yeah.
So if this is like everything, now I press back and I'm back in this state. I'm not back in, without the pop-up, and I can go forward or back.
Now, to point it out, I'm not a super fan of the sliding in from the side.
Mhm.
But if you click on the previous tab in your browser, I like that approach.
Mm.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I really like this. I didn't know yet that you can choose how it displays, but I like this because it somehow gives you the same view as you would get when you go to that page.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense for our work map. And I really like the simplicity of not inventing a custom views of what you already have a good view. And as long as it's and it's not gonna be frustrating if you really want to go in and leave the map. It's not frustratingly difficult.
And I'm also looking forward to the technical challenge. Having pages in pages and the data loader still works as expected. That will be fun.
You prefetch everything in the app while the user is reading.
So I was reading some technical book, and some person there expressed their opinion that a backend should always prepare you the whole data set that you can access, and you just download it from the front end. And I was like, okay, that's probably not going to work, but it's a very fun idea.
Well, yeah. Um, not to go off topic, but I just remembered how, the LLMs are sort of training us back into like accepting waiting as a legitimate sort of it's a legit thing. If you if you want to just load something in the LLM, you would export everything, and then which would take time. So okay, we'll see when we get there.
One more note about this page is I would say that we have made one circle now. And my definition of going in circles is when you start doing the same circle again.
Yeah.
So just the sanity check, we are not doing that again. We are like 99% sure that this is the way to go, right?
Yes, you're right. We have completed one circle, so it's technically incorrect that we are going in circles.
We made a circle completely different.
Yeah.
Making one circle is maybe even good. I could argue that, because you end up in the same good idea. When you uncover the same idea 2 times, it means that it's valid.
Yeah. Not to mention that you are a better man than you were.
Yeah. That's the whole idea behind that. What is called the hero's journey.
Mm.
We did one circle. Should we move on to the goal page?
Let's go.
Need to do some prep work. Just please verify if you see this or not.
I do.
So on this topic, I would say that I've covered quite a lot of ground. And I have 2 proposals, one serious, one experimental, how to approach the goal page. In both cases, one question that was very clear to me is that it seems that how we do check-ins need to change in some non-linear way. Like either you're not updating your progress there, which is, I don't know if the correct solution or not, or we have a more complex way of dealing with check-ins. And when you do the check-in, you can somehow do lots of stuff at once. So that's an unsolved problem. But let me jump into here, and like this is one version. It's called V2. And the V2 version is like 0 new ideas. We are using the layout from the project page. We are using a layout that is efficient with wide desktop areas, because it is not using some huge title here and taking up space, moving everything down. And because there is quite a lot of white space between these areas, it's very easy for our minds to jump from overview to messages. Like it's instant. I don't need to parse anything. If I want to go to that, I just go to that. I will go over the sections. I will point out what is missing. So in the overview, I think that's it. there needs to be a way to edit this. But other than that, I think this is it. I was thinking, should this go below, up, so on, but it seems to be a good place for this information.
Yeah, I think I don't know in reality like how often goals will have like long texts here. Um, but when I think many times they will have none. But it always seems to me that when there is something, it's it's highly relevant. It's kind of important to read it right after the title to understand what's going on. So that's just an argument for keeping it on the first position.
I was thinking about that as well. My line of thinking was, can we just use one line here instead of the full section?
Mhm.
That's why I was thinking how long this actually will become. But then I was, let's say, looking at this goal, which is a valid goal. Like, it's a clear statement what you want to achieve that year. If you only have spreadsheets, then the description always needs to be, very tight, because you are using, sheets, and there is no space to do any explanation of what this actually is. But if you have a tool that's purposely built for tracking and managing goals, then in some cases it actually kind of makes sense to write one or two sentences about why exactly you're doing this, what are the specifics of this, because usually 3 words are not encompassing all the details of what you actually want to, where you want to go. So yeah, I ended up in the same situation. If you want to write a lot of things, you have a place to do it, and everyone from your team can kind of read and understand what we are trying to achieve.
I'm also, let's remember we will add eventually like docs and files to this, but those should always be treated as extra resources.
And
I
they are
think,
not standard. That's the big difference.
yeah, it's in practice, there's a reason like why canonical OKRs are, kind of meant to be, by default, they are quarterly. Things take time, right? And but on the other hand, after 2.5 months pass, there's a very high chance that you may not remember every nuance about the context that you were starting from, and that's why writing things down is essential. So I personally plan to use this overview as to write down what was our state of mind when we set the goal.
A further comment on that is, if you have like a limited space, like only the title and the subtitle, it is really pushing the organization in that direction of kind of tribal knowledge, because that information is very small. To get the full context, you always need to be in contact with someone to actually get the full depth of that. And the worst that can happen is that, for example, if you talk to someone, you get one kind of information, and then 4 months down the line, you get a slightly different kind of information. And then that misalignment can spiral out. Like, that's a
Yeah, or if you like flip that into our selfish interest of making operatively the source of truth for a company, anything where you have a limit and you don't give it all you got, to put it broadly, it it sort of demotes the value and importance of the tool, and it's always kind of, yeah, it's there, but that's not the whole truth, you know? Like the truth is somewhere out there, as you said, it's tribal or it's elsewhere, or we have the freedom to not do it, to not end up in that situation. So let's, yeah, just give people everything they need.
Now, if I go to the next section is called targets. We were talking about measurements, I think success conditions, various other topics. But when I open any AI tool and like start to talk with them about goals, the only verb that they will use is targets, which is normal because it seems that that is the canonical, let's use that word, canonical word to use for goals. Anything else is custom, and I think requires extra
brain power.
When you learn it, it's clear. But that extra step of teaching people how to use the application, because measurements is not super clear. You probably heard it the first time here in the context of goals. But targets, that's like multiple sources are referencing targets.
Let's go with targets. Yeah, I would not complicate it further. We've gone through different phases. So in this, when you sort of investigate a little, like what are the people searching for in Google and stuff like that, there is generally goal tracking. We intentionally call goals. We don't say OKRs because we are not like evangelists of OKRs. We sort of think, there's a bit more, like sometimes there are many ways to get them wrong, and they are kind of too rigid sometimes. And just the fact that you can create a goal inoperatively where you have with the time frame of 1 week, makes us incompatible with the sort of OKR ideology. There are a few other aspects, but not to go into a rabbit hole now. But if you like on Google, like when people search goal tracking is very often associated with, it's on the kind of personal consumer level. Like my goal is to lose weight, my goal is to run a marathon, and all those things. And OKRs are, on the other hand, undoubtedly always a business. The context is always a business environment. But also OKRs have a like reputation and a backlash to some extent. And I guess what I'm saying is not 100% relevant, but to my point. But my point is basically, I really like, let's say if we are going with targets, we have not we do not use a special term like the way OKRs have invented a special term called key results. Um, yeah. there are many, like, your granddad died in World War II, so you can accomplish OKRs and key objectives and key results. Like, let's get real. So, yeah, let's just, absolutely with full heart, with like going with the simplest, most everyday, most understandable word possible. And yeah, sorry, bit gone on a tangent, but anyway.
So going on, I have presented like 4 kinds of targets on the screen. I was wrestling with that. Okay, I want to come to this page and instantly see the progress on them. And like a good part of this design session for me was how to display a big enough progress bar that is understandable instantly, and also, not just somewhere in the middle of the text and the actual numbers. And this is what I came up with. This is a, let's say, new design element for us. We don't have anything like this. For my taste, I think it's very clear what is the progress here, and I don't need to really think about how it's going. Like it's here, like it's completely obvious to me what is the progress. And also they serve as a good visual separator between these targets. So I went with this. And on the target side, every target has a name and a description. I don't particularly like this, but if I remove this placeholder no description, then this flow breaks, because then this is smaller than anything else, and your mind is immediately jumping on why is that thing not aligned with everything else. So yeah, that was so far a necessary evil in this design.
But why just to jump into what is my main, let's say, objection to this design is like, why do we need descriptions of targets? Just to express my impression, like I had it yesterday, I still have it today. Like, there's so much text. Like, the overview absolutely makes sense. We need to have targets, but when we also have descriptions within targets, it's like, it suddenly it gives me like, are we trying to be like the PhD of goal setting here? Like, yeah.
No, I absolutely get it. To some degree, I would say that this was inertia from, let's say, projects. On the projects, we have milestones, and then there we had like descriptions of the milestone. And to be honest, I don't have a good argument in either places why we need like extra information on this page. Like, if you navigate and further want to get more information about this target, yeah, maybe further description could be there. But it's a good point. Maybe we don't need it.
I mean, there is more depth, right? This is, you actually envisioned that each target is a sort of...
Yeah. The reason why I did that was when we come to this is like a true false, like you achieved it or not. This, I would argue that this is this extra page for this, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But what I did like was the ability to comment about this and have a conversation about this specific target.
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you don't have a place to talk about specifically this. You need to always talk in some. I mean, you could open a message, but then you need to point out that that is connected to this. Like, I think there are lots of places when you actually want to talk about specifically this this topic. And then once I had comments, it was okay. It should either be a page or it should be a pop-up. Like, it cannot be just here squished together. It's too small of a place to actually start a conversation about any of these topics. And these are usually big topics, like if we are seriously opening an office in Brazil, like it's not just a title. It's actually an involved job, and probably many people will work on this, and money will be spent. It requires at least a conversation place for that.
A counter argument would be what you just described, the goal. It should be a sub goal of expanding into new markets.
It's a valid argument.
I'm personally, I would always let's say it always seems like a good idea to me to make something discussable, commentable. But I do worry that if we make targets, let's say, too powerful, that it will pull people into the trap of like having mega goals with like 6 targets, and each target is like this huge undertaking. Whereas we generally want to encourage people to split their work, to sort of go step by step, and carefully use their time and celebrate accomplishments and all those things.
I don't have a good counter argument to that. But the start of an argument could be that when you are starting out a year and setting up a big goal, these things are just a sentence, and you want to just write them down in some place, and then later for all of these, let's say, targets, usually you kick off a project or a completely separate sub goal to work on. But when you are starting out, they are usually so simple that you would have that resistance to create an actual sub goal of this, because you are not yet sure if this is the way to go. It just, this was a thought, let's say in January, and then it starts to flash out or to clear out in March, and then in March you want to kick off a full thing around this. So my argument is that for creating a new goal, it's a big enough step that I would avoid it personally. I would maybe just use the overview for that, because a new goal requires a time frame. A new goal requires champions, people who will work on it, check-ins. I don't want to do check-ins for this until I'm like actually fully working on it. I want it to be just a check, did I accomplish it or not?
I mean, when we are there is this pattern of like when we are designing and developing new things where I'm not sure this is the case, but just to remind us, sometimes we sort of overstep and try to go 2 or 3 steps ahead when one would be more than enough. More than enough. It would be enough because we are yet to learn. Is it really true that steps 2 or 3 are needed, or maybe not? What is objectively pulling us towards steps 2 and 3 in some things here is because we are like, okay, we're not doing goals for the first time, and we kind of want to do a really great job now, and kind of just move on to other things. Um, there is maybe also as a reminder, we this design has removed some things from the current way of the way goals are. For example, we currently sort of require, I'm not even sure if it's required, but let's say there is this special field for like a unit. So you would say, if you would write eliminate blockers for selling in China and you write 20 is the goal, and then it kind of asks you to write, okay, what is the unit of that? And it's like, okay, we're getting rid of that. Um, we don't have to decide on the fly. For me right now, I'm at least equally for both, let's say, making the targets this commentable. I equally at least like the idea of not making them commentable intentionally, to sort of as a kind of healthy constraint.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Now, moving on to, because this one was, let's say, very simple. I could even do some magic here, to update here or update with the update progress. But then things start to get more complicated. Like this kind of a target, we have identified that this is really needed.
Mm.
I'm not sure in the context of, let's say, marketing or sales, where OKRs usually are implemented. But when it comes to building a product, as you said, doing something from scratch, maybe starting a new department or some other things in your company, like you usually have
Many
in mind.
business operational things are also in the same way. Like you get compliance, set up a LLC, set up, have a good license, like whatever. These things, what's the quantification of that,
And yeah, I think at least both in case of us as a company, as Operately, and as Safer, we have used this let's say terminology to just write down like 10 things that we know that are problematic. We have no idea how to solve them. That's something that we will figure out during the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good thing to have them written down.
Yeah. Also, because a lot of times you are like, what you're doing is you are focusing on your inputs, and you are sort of betting that if you take care of the inputs, like the final score will take care of itself. Because the inputs are under your control 100%. And like some second or third derivative results are, you expect them, but you are not fully
Like imagine this, setting this to earn 1 billion in China, but like no other clue how we want to attack it and do it. And then goals become wishful thinking and not like actual steps how to do them in any organization.
Okay, but here's my objection. I would really like to see these things on the goal page.
You mean here to have like 20 blockers here?
Yeah. If there, I mean, 20 blockers is like a lot. It's because not being able to, like, you're giving me messages, you're giving me sub goals, sub projects, but you're not giving me the meat of what's actually we need to do. It's like, almost the whole concept of like single page is, sort of fails. I see it as a constraint, but in some kind of an inverse way. Like if you really have like 25 things to check off, maybe you are treating this as a to-do list, and you shouldn't. But imagine, like, actually the goal is to eliminate blockers. It's not a target; it's a goal in its own, which really makes sense. And then you have like 5, and that's all the goal is. And it's maybe okay. Maybe it's one measure, one target, quantified, but we're hiding the core of what the goal is, in my opinion.
I'm not sure if I agree. My contra argument to that is, if I'm the champion who is like really trying to set up the teams to do this, yeah, I probably want to go open that page and like see the specifics and other stuff. But if I'm not that champion, then, and for kind of anyone else who is not the champion, like you are eliminating some blockers. That's clear. It's somehow internal to you to unblock you from actually achieving this. Like specific like tasks, it's on the level of the whole goal, it's kind of irrelevant if you are making good progress on them.
I might be actually confusing the first type. So what you have for figure out how to open a new office, actually that could be rendered as a check box potentially.
Yeah.
And then if it's really like a big deal, and it is like it exists, or it's not, or it's true, or it's false, or then it would make sense to present it as a check box. But now when you're explaining, I would also then agree with, like, okay, if it's on the yeah, I now clearly see a separate, like, a difference between like I don't know how to say it, like first level and second level, first degree, second degree of something that's a checklist item.
In my mind, checklist items are like programming term here, but like implementation details. It's clear that for lots of goals that you actually start, there are some initial blocking steps that you need to overcome to just even really start working on something. I usually like to write them down, but I don't feel that they are kind of relevant to anyone else. And as you said, if they are, now I'm repeating what you said, but if they are that relevant to anyone else, then actually, use a true false, like clear target. It's not a.
Okay, I mean, would it make sense to have that slide-in page pattern on this page?
I think yes. I was designing them as a separate page just because, first, that is the thing that we have kind of figured out. But this kind of a structure is like very suitable for either a slide-in or a pop-up or some way to actually get to that.
There is one thing that this reminds me. Something I observed when I was working on the work map, which was basically I think this paper pattern that we should not use it for the work map.
You mean to go full page?
Yeah.
Makes sense. I could let's put on my designer hat for a moment. That I'm kind of even ashamed sometimes to wear, but papers are good when you are talking about a document. And documents in our case are projects, goals, an actual document, a conversation.
Yeah.
But not the layout of the application. That's a. This is what hard to put it in words, but this is when you see, like when you pick up a paper, but this is not your table. A table is a different form. Not everything is just a paper.
Yeah, I think we're thinking the same. There's probably like a very concise, poetic way of, to express it, but yeah, it just doesn't.
I mean, when we start writing our memoirs, then we'll have the right word, but
yeah.
And the other two, here is a place where I'm still using units. I think that we still need units in certain situations, like for money. I really want to have a unit of money because I think it's very important to have it in the application.
Do you imagine it as like free-form input, or we sort of have a predefined list of a couple of things you could select? Like basically you could select a number, or it could be a financial, or
I would say predefined. Like one is like that true false value. The other is number, free form. Third is some currency, money.
Yeah, currency is the word, yeah.
And also like a checklist or something is a valid fourth option.
Yeah.
Set of steps. I don't know. I was trying to think about, like, is there anything else? I see the possibility to connect this somehow to a change in a KPI.
Yeah.
But that's further down the line. I think it could be modeled with the same approach.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And then maybe the comment on this, like previously when we were creating a new goal, I can maybe even show it here. This was like a very big thing to do. Like creating a new goal is a heavy duty stuff.
Yeah. Let me roll my sleeves and start.
Yeah. And but basically this will no longer work. This is the new approach that is kind of forced to us. Is you create a new goal, you kind of set only the name, and then you get a message there like add some targets to this goal to measure the progress, and then you add them one by one.
Cool.
Which, now that I think about it, may be even a better approach than what OKRs are forcing us. Because OKRs are usually forcing us to do them at the same time. The reality that I noticed in a lot of places is that it's very clear for the organization what they want to achieve or where they want to go. But as that is a completely new idea, you still don't really know how to measure it. You have a vague idea that in the next month, the measurements will also come and be clear how to actually get there.
Oh, that's a bureaucratization of goal setting. That's okay if you're Google and you cannot allow improvisation. You cannot allow like, oh, we'll figure it out, because you don't know what kind of people are sitting 10 blocks away from you. So we just don't have to follow that. I think a big value of kind of, we accomplished it first with the project page, kind of maybe to some extent even, I was going to say accidentally, but not entirely. I think there's a big value in allowing things to unfold and just trusting people to, to graduate, it supports the idea of like continuous learning and continuous improvement, um, in a sort of fundamental, subtle way. So I'm all for it.
I have two comments. Both are unrelated to each other. One is you recently had that goal, I think, in Sanford to open source Sanford. And I think that was probably, I'm just assuming, but that was probably a goal where, the direction is open source, but then to actually set any targets or key metrics on that, it's in the first day, it's like, I don't know what to, it's very clear we want open source Sanford, but then you go weeks and weeks and it becomes clear what are the targets, how to measure that, how to organize around that.
Yeah.
The second comment that is unrelated to this is I'm interested if the following pattern could be kind of used with Operately, is that the company leadership kind of comes up with a set of goals for them in a year, just writes them down in Operately, and then the conversation starts. Because OKRs are not like that. To some degree, you figure it out, but then it's in a draft. Then you meet with all the department heads and talk through it, and then the department heads talk with their teams and they figure it out. And then everything collectively in a bulk gets presented. But I think corporately might open that possibility of just, coming there, setting 3 new goals and pinging people, hey, next week, let's talk about this. This is the direction we want to take. We have no idea how to measure it. We have no idea what projects to kick off. But we are certain about, let's say, this strategic path that we want to take.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is like how a tool, like the tool you use, can influence your workflow, your process. Of course, when your goals are, as in the case of Sanford, it's been for years, like basically a markdown document, and we had this. We still have it's a bit more loose, but we still have this pattern of like a planning week where like, okay, this is the time for everybody more or less free from ongoing projects, and we can just sort of focus on thinking and reflecting and planning. But the nature of like publishing a document is that you do it once with everything in it, and if in the future, if you're using Operately, you can go very iteratively, and I still wouldn't recommend that, like a planning drags on for months or, too many weeks. But if you have the top 2 or the number 1 or top 3 strategic goals for the year in the company, like just put them there on, the day that they're ready, and kick off the conversations and gradually add stuff, across departments. It will also be, it also makes things more transparent, and I think it also allows people to pick up the patterns of like thinking and more easily, as opposed to when they're always just presented with everything at once.
Let's continue with the next. So originally this was progress updates, check-ins, the next section. But I really wanted to experiment with the idea that these are kind of like important updates to the goal, and they are kind of presented as messages, or maybe a better word for this, I don't know. The good thing is that it kind of lays out nicely the major updates or the major conversation points in this goal. The bad thing is that it reduces the visibility of check-ins, or I don't know, they are still visible because it's the first thing literally here, but there are no reminders. When will the next check-in come? What will happen then? Like that's quite reduced. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about this section. Maybe if you have some comments about them right now. I'm still thinking where to go next with this.
Well, I mean, You do need to have a link to see like view to see all messages, right? Because we're not probably not going to display 20. There's a cutoff, so there is a link to see all, and if there is a screen which lists all messages, then that screen might have some that, or at least in theory, it has space to show you more information or let you focus only on the messages that are basically status updates or check-ins. For champions, this page needs a button, which is like, okay. I mean, maybe related to this topic is like, what's the workflow for updating progress?
I don't have an answer to that. I have a button.
Right.
That's it. But one
did
thing
I understand correctly earlier at the beginning? You were kind of hinting that you see a difference between changing from 700 to 720 active users and just not really sending a notification and message to everybody versus potentially changing numbers, but also setting the overall status as in health of the goal and sending a message.
Yeah, these are still open questions for me. Like,
Yeah.
one flow, how I see this is just to reduce this check-in, and the check-in is just about this is the health, like the subjective health that I feel as a champion, with a message, it's going okay or not. But the actual meat of the goal, and if you want to get objective facts, then it's on this page and not on the tracking page. And you cannot even update targets there. It's just a message that you send out once per month. In that situation, you would, manually update these things as they come. So if you achieve something major from these things, you come and you update these numbers. I'm not sure if I like that approach. This page definitely pushes me in that direction. The other approach is you do update progress or check-in, I'm not sure. And then on that page, you can also manipulate these data and write a message on the bottom about the new state of things.
Well, I would maybe let's remember that the check-in is not for you, like for you as a champion, as much as it is an act of reporting, right? So, and what you are doing with that, you are communicating the current status, but you also need to give, if I'm kind of forgetting how it is right now, you need to give a summary since the last time, which for goals in Operately right now is 1 month ago. Do we have any wins? Do we have any issues? Have we hit any roadblocks? What you are producing along with the current values of targets, you're producing like a kind of report card, like this is the current representation of the goal plus accomplishments plus any roadblocks or issues. and that is for anybody who, for like the champions manager, that is basically the main interface for, you know, the thing that they consume to inform themselves about the state of the goal. Like, they're not, in my opinion, like, I'm not to go into like, okay, what's the I do think the check-in page, let's say the status update page, needs to also be different from what it is now. But um the a really good solution of that would be that if you are a reviewer, or if you don't need to go to this page, it's not like the check-in is just like a teaser, and then you have to go here and just sort of read through everything again from scratch to understand the truth. The whole truth should be somehow composed in the check-in.
I completely agree with you. I missed that on the project as well. Like, when I open a check-in that it wasn't mine and I'm reading it, like the immediate information for me is, what is the state with milestones? How many milestones have you completed? And then, yeah, I need to go to the other page to actually see it. The important question here is that when you are a champion and you are checking in, are you able to do modifications there? Or is it expected that you first get your goal in shape and then you check in?
If I put aside potentially implementation complexities, I would say it's the second, the latter thing. I'm seeing more and more clearly that champions should be able to update targets, do things in the smallest steps possible. I mean, if you're like really care about accomplishing goal, like you you would, you know, if you have a 702 active users, if it would make me happy, please let me update the progress bar. I would really love to be able to do that. And I would not like, I would like separation between updating completion from checking in or updating progress or reporting progress to my manager and the whole company potentially. Because, for example, company goals are basically, when you do a check-in, like 50 people get that email, right? So if changing of completion and checking in are the same, then you do not update completion until it's time to check in, which means 88% of the time goals are outdated, out of date. Yeah.
I mean, if I look at this specific goal, for example, like this, eliminate blockers, I would be super happy to probably report to my team whatever major blocker we have unblocked, or if we get close to that. So I would, even on a weekly basis, if we do something that is, really pushing us forward, I would like to go there and just check off something.
Mhm.
And I think I would be happy to do that. This other thing, yeah, this achieved 1,000 plus users. I will probably do it only once per month because it probably forces me to go look up that number, unless it's like super integrated into Operately. I need to do some extra stuff, and I will do it once per month. If I understand your comment, it's if I give a short version of it, like let's separate check-ins from updating stuff. But when you are checking in, that page is presenting you what information it will show to everyone in some condensed way, or you can uncollapse it or collapse it, just to remind you that, hey, you are checking in, but if not everything is up to date, like maybe do it now before you do this. And if we have a good system to notify the champion, like, hey, please make sure that everything is factual, and then check in, then I think the tracking page could be completely like what we have in the project page, my status and the description. And of course, when people are reading it, they will get the summary on the top, states, plus what I wrote.
Mm, kind of like that. I think since we don't have it, we're just not talking about it. I think when we see the next set of wireframes, we can potentially make one or two iterations further. We'll see. For me, generally, there is this kind of question mark always. Like, is there? I do see significance in this, like, there's this syndrome of like everything is okay when it isn't. It's very real in companies, and I'm just like, how do we at least help a little bit people avoid it? And it seems to me that if you can just like select the green and have a very free form input, and that's it. It's sort of inviting that syndrome to kick in. But if there is a way that either automatically or somehow it just prompts you or pulls from somewhere automatically something which would seem like a summary of, okay, well, what are the actual wins? If it's okay, what were the wins? Or and again, let's talk roadblocks. Like that's what I'm interested to talk about. If it's fine, it will be obvious. But if not, if the needle has not moved, it's probably not fine. Especially for goals where the cadence is once a month. But let's take it step by step. Some of what I said is 3 steps ahead. So we'll see.
So that is when it comes to messages. I think I don't have anything else. Here on the bottom, it says related work. Previously, it said sub goals and projects. I didn't like that. I don't know if this is the right term to use. Treat it as a placeholder for now. And yeah, I have a minified condensed version of your related work.
Mm.
I don't think that it ever needs to be more detailed than this. Like if you really need information about this stuff, go to that project. Like I wouldn't like to cram more information on this page here, because we will end up in a state where it has too much information for you to actually consume in a small space.
I agree. I think this is probably a great minified version. Mm. If it's truly great, we will just reuse it somewhere else probably, but we'll see. I think we can go with this and yeah, just move on.
I think the big invention or reinvention was this line, dotted line, because it allows me to have any separation between these two, because without this, it's just accumulated data, too condensed data.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, posting it out. And two new things like add subgoal and projects. Again, I don't like that we have two buttons for this, but I don't have a better solution for it.
No, come in. It's not like you have 10 buttons. It's like, okay. It's fine.
And what we talked about last time was the difference between messages and like the activity, and some potential problems that we are duplicating data. But now that I have introduced it, I see zero problems with having this and having the activity, because the activity also includes comments on this, completion of some things, changes here and everything. Like if you really want to go into the activity, it's on the bottom. But if you want to go through important conversation topics, it's here. It's not part of this. And we need more information here. Currently, I didn't touch this part.
We need
About the status of the project, of the goal. Like it's not clear, is this on track, off track?
And the team.
And the team. I have in my notes that I might want to tackle that thing about follow updates, because I think it's a very important thing for goals. Where currently I cannot do that I go to a goal and I just want to follow the progress here. I can completely unconnected with this goal, but I want to be updated on it. And I have experimented here, but maybe on the top, to display all the people who contributed to this goal, because that is kind of a nice way to celebrate people's victories and accomplishments. But we currently don't have it, and it turns out that it's only one person for a company-wide accomplishment that we did for a year. Well, it's not one person, it's usually 30 people who put their efforts into it.
So it would be a sum of, let's say, all team members of any projects that are related to this, and well, that's the main source. I mean, there could be champions of sub goals, but mainly from projects. I think that would be great. People would love it. I mean, one of the first pieces of feedback from like the very first time I introduced goals in the roughest state was like, hey, it's kind of not cool that it's just me as a champion. I'm really just the head of the department. Yeah. So yeah, worth investing. I think these things that help people feel valued.
One thing where I see some problems that I don't have an answer to is currently you can have a champion and a reviewer for the goal. And somehow, because of the projects, there is an inertia that you should have other people on the goal as well. I don't have an answer to that. Should it be or shouldn't it be? I mean, if they are there, they should probably be part of a project and not a goal.
No, I think the implicit, like automatic but implicit calculation of who are the contributors through projects is very cool. It's like this little product loop that we introduce where if you contributed, how come you were not in a project? Oh, you didn't have a project tracked. Well, sorry. Track things more closely next time.
And I think we are in this meeting for 2 hours, but I have one other idea to show you. I don't think it will work, but just to present it, that it was there, it was kind of an investigation, is to not use this layout, but a more traditional layout, which has titles on the top. It was like this layout. The good thing about that was I was investigating like having kind of tabs, but they're not tabs, but more like on some products that have it. When you click on this, it just scrolls down to that section. And the nice thing was that this always stays on the top, so you are always like in control, even if this document gets really long. So far, my gut feeling, this pattern might come in handy for some other stuff.
I haven't seen it. It kind of looks like tabs, but I don't mind. I mean, whenever you have if let's say if I never knew about the previous layout that we kind of copied from projects and somebody just presented this to me, I would say, okay, looks clean, let's go. I kind of don't like how the headers are so big and there's zero value in them except that they're separators and just give names of sections, but overall good layout, it's just straightforward, nothing to complain.
The titles are usually here the biggest problem. Like you need to make them big, to have any kind of separation between the content.
I don't know, it's tricky.
What I really liked about this was this line, basically that somehow you get to this, and even if something is really on the top, like related work, like it doesn't work, but if you click, like it goes to that part, and it's like clear.
Yeah.
One thing that I would copy from this page is to have the check-in, when you scroll out, I would always keep the check-in here.
Mm.
And maybe some, actions for this page. I think it's a useful pattern. That's it.
Nice. So I guess, yeah, we both have kind of a mostly clear path for the immediate next steps. And I think we crossed the biggest initial hurdles.
I would say for the work that you are doing, I would like to see at least some mock-up in the browser if possible. I can also help out with that. I think I'm good at that part, but because usually it looks different when you see it in the browser.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's keep working.